The greatest hazard when using a chainsaw is if the saw kicks back. Kickback can occur if you try to cut with the upper quadrant of the bar tip, which is known as the kickback sector. The bar tip then wants to climb upwards, and the whole saw is thrown backwards by the force of the rotating chain. This is why the chain brake is an important safety device. The chain brake on all Johnsonred saws can be triggered in one of two ways. Either by the force of the saw motion during kickback, or by the wrist of your left hand striking the kickback guard. The best way to prevent chain problems is to make sure the chain is properly tensioned, well lubricated, and in good condition. But if the chain does jump off or break, there's a chain catcher underneath designed to stop the chain from flying backwards unrestricted. The right-hand guard is also designed to protect your fingers. To prevent accidental operation of the throttle, there's a lock which must be activated. When you release the throttle and the engine slows down to idle speed, the chain stops automatically because it's driven by a centrifugal clutch. The chain must stop completely when the engine is idling. If it does not stop, then the idling speed must be reduced. The ignition switch is also a safety feature, as you need to be able to stop the engine quickly. When you use the saw, it's important to wear the right clothing. Never work in jeans or everyday shoes, even if you just plan to cut a little wood outside the front door. You should wear sturdy boots with steel toe caps, built-in saw protection over the instep, and a rugged tread pattern to provide safe footing. You should always wear protective safety pants. Johnsonred's logging pants have built-in saw protection with long fibers designed to stop the chain in a fraction of a second if it penetrates the outer fabric. Keep the cuffs of your pants outside your boots to keep sawdust from getting in. Protect your upper body with a heavy long-sleeved shirt or jacket. A pair of gloves will protect your hands, especially when handling the chain. Always wear an approved protective helmet with both a visor and hearing protectors. You should always carry a first aid kit. Keep it handy in your shirt pocket or logger's belt. This is what the professionals wear. You will find everything you need in Johnsonred's wide range of work clothes, safety equipment, and accessories. Products that are developed in collaboration with the professionals who use our saws every day. Once you're properly dressed, it's time to run through how you should handle the saw. You need to know how to fit a new chain, how to fill up on fuel and chain oil, and how to start the saw and try it out for the first time. You can have your Johnsonred saw provided with the chain and bar assembled. But because you should know how to change the chain, we'll describe that now. Start by undoing the bar nuts. Remove the cover and the old chain. Check the direction of rotation of the new chain and fit it in place. Make sure it fits properly in the bar groove and around the drive sprocket. Refit the cover and tighten the bar nuts slightly. Now apply tension to the chain by turning the chain tensioner clockwise. The chain is properly tensioned when it doesn't sag below the bar and you can't lift the drive links out of the top of the bar. Don't over-tighten the chain. You should be able to move it easily by hand. Always wear work gloves when you handle the chain. Now tighten the bar nuts firmly. To To fill the saw, you lay it on its side and pour pre-mixed 2-cycle fuel into the filler opening marked with a fuel symbol. Then fill the chain oil into the other hole. Before you start the saw, move it away from the area where you filled it. Beware of the fire hazard. Now it's time to start your saw. When the engine is cold, you start as follows. Turn the ignition switch on, pull out the choke, and put the saw on the ground. Put your right foot through the handle, grip the front handle firmly with your left hand, and pull the starter cord until the engine fires once. Now push in the choke without changing the throttle setting. This is important because your John-Surred saw has an automatic start setting. Pull the starter cord until the engine is running. When you start with a warm engine, there is, of course, no need to use the choke. You simply pull the starter cord to start. Now rev up a few times to get used to the way the saw reacts to the throttle. Before you go out into the forest, you should get used to working with your saw on home ground. Try cutting some wood supported on a sawhorse, for example. When cutting, you should stand with your legs fairly wide apart for balance, with your left foot forward. The thumb of your left hand should always grip around the front handle. Keep the saw close to you so you don't overstrain your back and arms. Stand diagonally behind the saw, never directly behind it. Apply full throttle before you start cutting and cut as close to the base of the bar as possible. When you cut from above, the chain tries to pull the saw onto the trunk. If you try cutting from below, you'll feel the chain trying to push the saw towards you. You should retension a new chain after about 20 minutes use. Switch off the engine, put the saw down, and undo the bar nuts slightly. Apply tension to the chain by turning the chain tensioner clockwise. Do not over-tighten it. You should be able to pull it around easily by hand. Then tighten the bar nuts firmly again. Check that the chain is oily. This tells you it's being lubricated properly. Once you've gotten to know your saw properly, it's time for the first tree. Here we'll describe how you should prepare for felling, how to fell a tree, and how to limb and cross-cut it afterwards. To work as safely and effectively as possible, it's important to plan ahead and think ahead, just like any other job. To start with, you should always have someone with you. Never go into the forest and work alone. A mobile telephone is useful as it lets you call for help if you need it. Once you've decided